Legal action on bauxite violation after probe completes. Husband and wife team mastermind in GST fraud. Good afternoon, I'm Jessica Lee. Welcome to News on 2. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment will wait for the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or MACC, to complete their probe into the bauxite moratorium violation. Nice Minister Datuk Sri Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar stressed that any action on the matter will take place after the MACC completes its investigations. Speaking to the media, he said despite the enforcement of the bauxite moratorium since January 15, 2016, there has been no let-up in the illegal mining activities.
Bila SPRM masuk, SPRM lihat benda ni secara menyeluruh. Dia lihat pengorekan semula ada, jadi dia mempunyai kuasa-kuasa yang khusus. Yang mana saya punya kementerian saya, jabatan-jabatan saya tak punya kuasa tu. Nak masuk tanah orang, nak masuk kawasan orang tak ada. SPRM ada di bawah undang-undang. Jadi batasan undang-undang itu menghalang kita masuk. Itu bila SPRM masuk, saya rasa lega. Dan sekarang kita dah tahu dah.
The MACC has raided over 7 locations to curb bauxite moratorium violations. Among them are the Kuantan Port Office, the Customs Office, as well as several companies related to the activities. The Malaysian Royal Customs Department arrested a husband and wife team believed to be the masterminds behind a 25 million ringgit worth of fraudulent goods and services tax GST refund claims through the GST 03 statement. Now, the biggest scam in the syndicate is believed to involve several companies, with the public being oblivious to their involvement in the scam. The male suspect in his 50s was arrested on August 25th in Ipoh, Perak, while he was taking out his fraudulent earnings of 200,000 ringgit in a bank in Ipoh. Meanwhile, his wife, who is in her 40s, was arrested 2 days later in Bandar Baru Sri Petaling, Kuala Lumpur, along with 182,000 ringgit.
Dan mereka ni disyaki, saya gunakan perkataan disyaki, belum lagi didakwa. Disyaki memperdayakan orang-orang lain, ya, untuk turut terlibat dalam tuntutan, ya.
The case is being investigated under Section 89, Subsection 1B of the Goods and Services Tax Act 2014 for making false statement or entry in any declaration. If convicted, the first offence requires a fine not less than 10 times and not exceeding 5 years, or both. For the second or subsequent offence, the offender must pay a fine not less than 20 times, no more than 40 times the amount of tax, or serve prison time not exceeding 7 years, or both. The bank accounts belonging to both suspects were frozen for investigation under the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act of 2001. The 2 suspects will be charged at the Ipoh Sessions Court in Perak. A government auditor was warned not to interfere with Malaysian Central Bank's foreign exchange dealings after he questioned whether such trades complied with regulations. P. Kanasan Puthinka, a former Assistant Auditor General, was testifying yesterday at the Royal Commission of Inquiry, or RCI, into billions of ringgit worth of forex trading losses suffered by Bank Negara Malaysia in the 1990s. According to Kanasan, during the meeting between staff from the Auditor General's Office and from the Attorney General's Chambers, AGC, Tan Sri Ainul Muhammad Said, who in 1992 was the AGC's head of advisory services, had said the trades did not comply with the Act and that a written reply would be provided. Kanasan said when he followed up on the written reply, Tan Sri Ainul told him over the phone the higher-ups said, "Stop meddling." Subsequently, he said the AGC wrote that the matter was to be resolved between the Auditor General and the Central Bank Governor. Meanwhile, former Bank Negara Accounts Manager Saleha Lajim, the 8th witness to testify, said the then Deputy Governor had verbally asked her to make some modifications to the 1993 financial reports, of which her department prepared a draft for. The modifications consisted of putting the losses in either the investment fluctuation reserve account and or the exchange rate fluctuation reserve account instead of the other reserve account. Now, the Magistrates Court in Tawau has set September 18th for a remention of a case involving a senior citizen who is facing a charge of dumping a female fetus, which he is suspected to have fathered. Magistrate Muhammad Faisal Cik Saad had to adjourn the case twice before fixing the date for Sambaliong Saijuan, 75, to duly answer the charge. In court on Tuesday, Sambaliong appeared to be deaf, and although he had a hearing aid, it apparently failed to function. The case was initially brought for mention around 12:30 p.m., but when the charge was read out to Sambaliong, he gestured that he could not hear, prompting the magistrate to adjourn it to 3 p.m. At 3 p.m., the same thing happened, but the accused did not answer the charge, even though he had put on his hearing aid upon being advised to do so. The charge under 318 of the Penal Code carries on conviction a sentence of 2 years imprisonment or a fine or both. The court set 2,500 ringgit as bail with 2 local sureties and advised the accused to engage a lawyer. ASP Nur Intan Jamrin was the prosecuting officer. The National Anti-Drugs Agency, or AADK, has disclosed that 1,256 students have been caught for drug abuse since the first 6 months of this year. Now, the problem is considered serious given that the number is much higher compared to the same period last year. AADK Prevention Division Director Abdul Rahman Hamid said the number was based on the random drugs tests AADK has conducted on students in various schools. Schools that had the most number of students testing positive for drugs were categorized as high risk, following which AADK will collaborate with the Ministry of Education to implement drug prevention programs within these high-risk schools. Kedah recorded the highest number of students testing positive for drugs in the first 6 months of this year. According to AADK, 337 tertiary students from both public and private tertiary institutions also tested positive for drugs. Abdul Rahman was speaking to reporters after attending the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding between AADK and College Cosmo Point Seremban yesterday. 36,872 illegal immigrants have been deported from the country through an ops mega conducted from January the 1st to August 24th, 2017. Now, these arrests were the result of 10,000 enforcement operations conducted by the Immigration Department throughout Malaysia. According to the Deputy Director General of Immigration, Datuk Sharil Ismail, in the said period, almost 116,000 immigrants were inspected, which resulted in the arrests of 31,000 immigrants of various nationalities who were involved in an array of offences, whereas almost 926 employers were also arrested during the nationwide operation.
Semakin kurang lah, Kalau di sini pun nampak semakin kurang lah. Dan mungkin melalui proses pengusiran dan juga proses re-hiring ataupun kita buat maknanya walaupun dia datang tidak sah, kita telah membenarkan dia untuk memohon komit yang sah, makanya bilangan yang tidak sah itu telah semakin berkurangan.
Datuk Sharil spoke in a press conference after holding the Ops Niaga with the Companies Commission of Malaysia, or CCM, in the nation's capital. Commenting on the operation in Plaza Lauyat, a total of 80 illegal immigrants were examined, of which 40 were found to be abusing the social visit passes and did not have a valid work permit. Meanwhile, CCM Deputy Chief Executive Officer, Regulatory and Enforcement, Nur Azima Abdul Aziz, said a total of 68 premises were inspected in Ops Niaga and 27 of the premises were given notices for failing to display their business license. The operations were also joined by the Royal Malaysia Police, the National Registration Department and the Enforcement Department of the Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperatives and Consumerism. And coming up next, the United States will come to terms that Malaysia is not a trade cheat. United States President Donald Trump will recognize that Malaysia is not a trade cheat when he has a better understanding about the bilateral trade flows and the way the data is captured during the upcoming meeting between him and Prime Minister Datuk Seri Najib Tun Razak in September. International Trade and Industry Minister Datuk Seri Mustafa Mohamad was confident that the White House would have a clearer picture of the situation between the United States and Malaysia.
We're not cheating. We believe we are competitive. Cheating means we sell at the counter, we sell at below prices, below market prices, and under those circumstances, there are rules in place. This will definitely come up during discussion between our PM and Donald Trump. But of course, we have to explain the situation. Firstly, we have a big discrepancy in numbers. Ours is about 5 billion surplus with America. USA is about 25 billion. So a big 5 and 25. So we have to explain why this is so.
The US, the world's largest economy, has highlighted this year that 16 countries, including Malaysia, have been enjoying trade surplus due to unfair trade. Datuk Sri Mustafa added Malaysia, which is one of the founding members of the World Trade Organization, or WTO, is a competitive nation and adheres to the rules of the World Trade Body. He was met after the official opening of Top Glove Global Doctors, or TGGD, a one-stop ambulatory care centre. TGGD is a joint venture between Top Glove Corporation, the world's largest rubber glove manufacturer, and Global Doctors, which is based in Monkiara, Hartamas and Bukit Damansara. The Inland Revenue Board, or LHDN, will soon launch an income tax audit operation on professionals involving architects, lawyers and engineers. LHDN Chief Executive Officer Datuk Sabin Samita advised these professionals to come forward now and make a voluntary declaration of their incomes.
Sasaran kita berdasarkan risk dia, risk analysis kita. Ya, sebab information ni kita boleh dapat daripada berbagai pihak sekarang. Kita boleh dapat daripada maybe third parties yang terlibat dengan perjanjian tersebut, ya. Kita juga boleh dapat daripada analisa CTR, STR daripada bank negara dan sebagainya.
Datuk Sabin said the LHDN had managed to collect 75.7 billion ringgit in taxes so far this year, which is an increase of 2.72% compared to the same period last year. On the target of 127.7 billion ringgit in tax collections this year, Datuk Sabin said it was achievable, but several restrictions could reduce the tax collection, including the announcement of a 1% reduction in the tax rate. He was met after attending the Merdeka Gathering 2017 in Cyberjaya. Coming up in sport, Malaysia loses to Thailand in mother of all gold medals. Stay with us. Now, Malaysia has achieved its best performance ever at the SEA Games, securing 142 gold medals, surpassing the targeted 111 gold medals in the medal tally. Now, the Games, which concludes today, was also praised among its peers as one of the best hosted by a member country in the new millennium. The following is the medal tally as at noon today. Naomi Osaka recorded the biggest win of her career by knocking out defending champion Angelique Kerber in the first round of the US Open. Kerber has endured... As we know, Malaysia lost out to defending champion Thailand 1-0 in the mother of all gold medal competitions, football, at the stadium, at the Shah Alam Stadium last night. Now, be as it may, the host country remains resolute in its achievements in securing the most number of medals at the SEA Games. And for the latest on the ongoing 2017 KLC Games, we go over to Mohana Priya, who is now at the International Broadcast Centre, IBC, at the Malaysian International Trade and Exhibition Centre, MITEC, in Kuala Lumpur. Mohana, is over to you.
Thank you, Jessica. Regional football heavyweights Thailand clinched their third consecutive SEA Games men's football gold last night when they beat Malaysia 1-0. Now, the home side, who have surpassed their 111 gold medals, were looking to put the icing on the cake with the highly coveted men's football gold. But the Thais had other ideas, producing a dominant display in front of a packed Shah Alam Stadium. The Thais started aggressively, and after just 5 minutes, striker Warachit Kanit Sri Bampen darted into the penalty box before he was tripped by Adib Zainuddin. The referee took a quick look at the incident but ultimately waved play on. Just before the half-hour mark, the Thais threatened from a corner, but a bullet header was saved acrobatically by Malaysia's goalkeeper Haziq Nazli to roars from the home crowd. But in the 39th minute, Haziq's fortunes turned. The Thais chipped in a corner which should have been routine catch for Haziq, but the keeper attempted to punch the ball away and he was unable to get clean contact. The ball looped into the net. Malaysia tried to mount a comeback in the second half, but they struggled to cope with the Thais' fitness and sharp counter-attacks. 12 minutes from time, Malaysia's winger Shazwan Ishak curled an effort from outside the box, but the ball grazed the top of the bar. With this defeat, Malaysia's hunt for the first SEA Games men's football goal since 2011 continues. Meanwhile, the Malaysian men's hockey team went on a goal spree to thrash hapless Myanmar 14-0 in the final for the gold medal last night. With the win, Malaysia ended the hockey competition with 3 gold medals, including 2 from the men's indoor hockey and women's field hockey teams. Yesterday's final, world number 12 Malaysia opened a count right from the first minute at the National Hockey Stadium in Bukit Jalil. Mohammad Razi Rahim and Shahril Saabah each scored a hat-trick, while Faisal Shahri and Ayman Nikrozemi netted a brace each. The other goals were scored by Mior Azwan Hassan, Fitri Shahri, Azril Hassan and Rashid Barum, chipped in with 1 apiece. Elated national coach Stefan Van Huysen said the other Southeast Asian teams were no match for Malaysia, although teams like Myanmar, Thailand and Singapore have improved considerably by hiring foreign coaches and going for overseas stints. Meanwhile, national divers Wendy Ng Yan Yi and Nur Dabita Sabri paired up to notch the 9th gold medal for the diving squad in the women's synchronized 3-meter springboard final at the National Aquatic Centre in Bukit Jalil. Wendy and Nur Dabita were clearly a class above when they collected 304.71 points, followed by Singapore's Ashley Tan Yi Swan Fong Kai Uyen with a distant 236.7 points for the silver, and Eka Purnama Indah Lidanini Yasmin of Indonesia with 223.56 points to take the bronze. Nur Dabita, who was injured on Saturday just before the individual 3-meter springboard event, appeared to have recovered yesterday to successfully defend the gold they won at the last games in Singapore. Now, teenage water skier Alia Yung Hanifa finally got the better of her nemesis Rossi Amir to win the gold medal in the women's jump event yesterday. The 14-year-old had set a new national record with a jump of 32.8 meters in the preliminary round on Monday. Alia needed to beat defending champion Rossi of Indonesia, who earlier in the day had leaped 30.8 meters in the final at the Water Sports Complex. Alia came close in her first jump with a leap of 30.7 meters. She made sure she nailed the gold in her second jump, soaring to a distance of 32.6 meters. Another Indonesian, Nur Alima Priambodo, settled for the bronze on 27.6 meters. It is a positive improvement for Alia, who finished second behind Rossi in the discipline at the Singapore Games 2 years ago. Now, the gold rush in Silat started yesterday at the Juara Stadium Bukit Kiara, Kuala Lumpur, for the national team, as our Silat exponents raked in 5 gold medals to make it a total of 7 gold medals won by Malaysia in the event. Mohammad Faizul M. Nasir and Siti Shazwana Aja delivered the first 2 gold medals in their tanding or combat events. The 29-year-old Faizul went on the assault from the start to beat Nguyen Dinh Thuan of Vietnam with a convincing 5-0 win in the 50 to 55 kilogram class final. Siti Shazwana later fought with an injured ankle, but that did not stop her from beating Rewandi Damsri of Thailand 5-0 in a charged-up 60 to 65 kilogram women's final. Malaysia added 2 more gold medals from Razak Ghazali and 3-time world champion Muhammad Al-Jufri Jamari. Razak had to fend off a strong challenge from Thailand's Pontep Pulkau to win 4-1 in the 60 to 65 kilogram class. Al-Jufri, however, oozed class in his 5-0 win over Pham Tuan An in the 65 to 70 kilogram class to win the gold in his 4th consecutive SEA Games. Jufri, who still looked hungry for success in the sport, will be eyeing the Indonesia Asian Games next year, where Pencak Silat is expected to make its debut. World champion Siti Rahmah Muhammad Nasir also lived up to expectations by defending the gold medal in the 65 to 70 kilogram category in her last SEA Games outing. The pumped seasoned campaigner Siti Rahmah put up a convincing show to beat Pipet Kamelia of Indonesia with a 5-0 win. Elsewhere, Anya Chong An Ya, making her debut in the SEA Games, sprinted her way to the gold medal in the women's 500-meter short track speed skating at the Ice Arena, Empire City. The 23-year-old Anya clocked 48.448 seconds to beat 4 other competitors in an exciting final last night. The category also saw Malaysia's Ashley Chin being penalised for impeding go, which cost Malaysia the bronze medal, as Thailand's Voravalan Lichin Pat picked up the silver with a time of 53.293 seconds. Heavy favourite Goh Cheyen of Singapore, meanwhile, came in third with a time of 1 minute 5.581 seconds. Anya, who was overwhelmed with emotions, was seen crying on the podium during the prize-giving ceremony as she watched the Malaysian flag being raised and Negaraku playing in the background. Now we hope to bring you more about the closing ceremony in Bukit Jalil later in our 7 p.m. bulletin. If you're heading that way tonight, do take note of the special bus and rail services. And that's it from the team at IBC in MyTech. It's back to you, Jessica.